The transformation of Stoicism. Stoicism is changing. I've been diving into Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, and let me tell you, it's powerful stuff. Reading his words from 2,000 years ago, the thoughts of a Roman emperor, is almost surreal. But as someone who studied Stoicism for years, I've noticed something strange happening. If Stoicism were simply another celebrity trend, that would be one thing. But what's happening now is different, even disturbing. This ancient philosophy, once a guide to living a good and fulfilling life, has been hijacked by the manosphere, a segment of the internet where ideas of masculinity often take on extreme tones. In this new form, Stoicism is sold as a kind of magic potion, promising fame, wealth, and dominance. This isn't just a rebranding, it's a distortion. Stoicism has become a kind of snake oil, marketed by figures who exploit it to get rich and famous. We even see examples of people using Stoic ideas to excuse rude or even misogynistic behavior, as if not feeling is all that Stoicism is about. But Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about acknowledging emotions and moving forward in a way that's calm and wise. So why is it this philosophy in particular that's been picked up of all the teachings out there? Why do these alpha male types gravitate towards Stoicism, a philosophy deeply rooted in self-discipline and intellectualism? To understand how Stoicism turned into this billion-dollar online hustle, we dug deep. We interviewed experts, tried out Stoic courses, and yes, watched more AI-generated Stoicism videos than I'd like to admit. The rabbit hole went far deeper than I could have imagined. It turns out the purpose of this bro-ified Stoicism isn't to enlighten or educate, but to manipulate and exploit. Men are being told, hey, it's good to show your emotions, but then they're pressured to suppress them to get ahead, to be more successful, masculine, rich, and attractive. It's a message crafted to sell a product, not build character. The origins of Stoicism. The story of Stoicism started far from the noisy world of internet influencers. In 300 BC, a wealthy trader named Zeno suffered a shipwreck that took everything he had. In that moment, Zeno realized we can't control what life throws at us, but we can control our reactions. Although he couldn't stop the sea or change the weather, he found a way to turn his loss into a teaching moment. He shared his insights with others, and from this, Stoicism was born. His philosophy quickly spread, influencing people across Greek society. From Zeno, a foreigner with roots in what's now Lebanon, Stoicism reached thinkers like Epictetus, a former slave, and later Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king. Aurelius's Meditations, his personal reflections on how to live well, became a guide for countless people over the centuries. After Marcus Aurelius's death, Stoicism faded as Christianity rose. The teachings outside the Holy Gospel were seen as either pagan nonsense or, worse, heresy. For hundreds of years, Stoicism nearly disappeared. But in the 20th century, Stoicism found its way back into the public eye, thanks to some unlikely figures, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, and a soldier. They saw value in Stoic ideas, and their influence paved the way for a modern revival. Exploring Stoicism today. To dig deeper, I challenged myself to live like a Stoic for a week. I signed up for Stoicism courses, ordered a set of Stoic prompt cards, and hired a Stoic coach on Fiverr for about $19. No expectations, just a curiosity about what this would bring. For my official course, I chose the most popular online Stoic hub, Ryan Holiday's daily Stoic website, where I signed up for an 11-day course called Taming Your Temper. Every day I'd get an email, a video, and an activity to help me manage my anger, the Stoic way. Day one's exercise was called Burn Letters, inspired by Abraham Lincoln. The idea was to write down everything that makes you angry, fold it up, and burn it. Simple, but oddly satisfying. Burning that paper was like burning away the baggage we carry around needlessly. The Stockdale Paradox. One of Stoicism's most powerful modern stories belongs to Admiral James Stockdale, During the Vietnam War, Stockdale was captured and spent 7 grueling years as a prisoner of war, enduring brutal treatment in the infamous Hanoi Hilton. His leg was broken, re-broken, and he was constantly tortured and humiliated. After his release, people asked how he managed to survive such horror. His answer became known as the Stockdale paradox. Stockdale explained that the prisoners who always hoped their release was around the corner often grew despondent and died. Instead, he accepted his harsh reality, making peace with the suffering he faced every day. He didn't wait for the light at the end of the tunnel. He found strength in the darkness itself. Throughout his ordeal, Stockdale took inspiration from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, even publishing a book titled Courage Under Fire, where he described putting Stoic principles to the test in the harshest conditions imaginable. Through his story, Stoicism gained new relevance in the modern world, particularly in psychology. The birth of CBT and Stoicism's return, the Stoic revival of the mid-20th century, wasn't limited to soldiers. The emergence of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, in the 1950s and 60s took heavy inspiration from Stoicism, especially from thinkers like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius. Giants in the field like Albert Ellis and Aaron Beck, founders of CBT, believed Stoicism offered valuable tools for dealing with life's challenges. Ellis even summarized CBT's spirit with a quote from Epictetus: "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." Unlike today's celebrity culture, neither Ellis nor Beck were famous in the way we think of influencers now. If Instagram had existed, they'd have barely rivaled a single post from today's flashy internet celebrities, but the seeds they planted grew, spreading Stoic ideas to millions worldwide. The internet and Stoicism's global renaissance. By the 1990s, the internet allowed Stoic thinkers to connect, sparking an online community of people intrigued by Stoicism's teachings. This digital age turned Marcus Aurelius into a pop culture icon, especially after he was depicted in the movie Gladiator. People left theaters inspired, diving into Aurelius's meditations and joining the internet's growing Stoic movement. Then came Silicon Valley, a culture known for its life hacks and obsession with peak efficiency. To Silicon Valley's tech elite, Stoicism became the ultimate brain hack. Why read a book at normal speed when you could double it? Why get a full night's rest when you could optimize with a power nap? In this world, CBT and Stoicism became tools to tune out unnecessary distractions, a way to clear the mental clutter so they could focus on success. But many argue that, to Silicon Valley, Stoicism is just another trend, like Hyperloops or coffee that comes in packets. Ryan Holiday's role in Stoicism's commercial revival. One person who truly capitalized on this modern revival was Ryan Holiday. His book, The Obstacle is the Way, became an instant hit with support from Silicon Valley entrepreneur Tim Ferriss. Together, they exposed thousands, maybe millions, to Stoicism. Holiday's straightforward, approachable style made his book a starter kit for Stoic philosophy. Yet with Holiday's success came a wave of commercialized Stoicism, branded merchandise, Stoic-inspired trinkets, and premium courses that promise enlightenment for a price. Before dedicating himself to promoting Stoicism, Holiday worked in corporate marketing. His previous books, like Growth Hacker Marketing and Trust Me, I'm Lying, reflect that corporate mindset. He knew exactly how to build a brand. And with Daily Stoic, his net worth is now estimated at $5 to $10 million. Browsing the Daily Stoic store, one can't help but wonder what Zeno or Epictetus would think. Bro-ism, the rise of Stoic distortion. Today, a version of Stoicism has emerged that looks nothing like its original form. It's been hijacked, twisted, and packaged for the so-called manosphere and red pill community. A community notorious for its own brand of masculinity, which leans into extreme, often controversial takes on what it means to be a man. This isn't Stoicism as the ancient Greeks knew it. It's Bro-ism, a form of Stoicism that's been repurposed for the uninitiated brozus. To understand how this happened, we need to look at the manosphere itself, a term coined by a former adult film actor named Ian Ironwood. This community shares a red pill mindset, a term borrowed from the Matrix that originally symbolized waking up to harsh truths. Ironically, the film's creators disowned the manosphere's use of this term, as the philosophy is now often a backlash against modern feminism. The manosphere has become a hub for male-centric ideas, attracting everyone from alpha male advocates and pickup artists to incels, far-right groups, and more. And it's here that Stoicism, or rather, Bro-ism, has found a stronghold. Just how far has Bro-ism gone? Let's take a look at an experience with a so-called Stoic coach. One of our team members, Jacob, purchased a Stoicism course on Fiverr. For about $49, she expected some meaningful lessons, but after several days, her coach was still ghosting her. When he finally did respond, it was with bizarre, even offensive advice. The so-called Stoic teachings from this coach were hardly anything of the sort, revealing that buying a quick-fix Stoic course online may be just as hollow as it sounds. Meanwhile, I tried another popular Stoic course myself, Ryan Holiday's Daily Stoic Taming Your Temper Guide. Each day, I received an email, a video, and an activity to help control my anger. One day's task was to look in a mirror and make angry faces, an exercise inspired by a scene from the Adam Sandler movie Happy Gilmore. I wasn't sure how this would deepen my understanding of Stoicism, but I gave it a try. Then I decided to go to the source and spent time reading classics like Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. These original texts are in the public domain and available to everyone for free. I realized you don't need to pay for pricey courses or branded materials to learn from the true founding fathers of Stoicism, like Epictetus, Seneca, and Zeno. What defines Bro-ism versus real Stoicism? If we were to define Bro-ism, the so-called pillars would look very different from those of true Stoicism. Yes, there's an overlap in ideas, like the acceptance that we can only control our intentions and actions, not the outcomes. This core concept is indeed part of Stoicism and is also foundational in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and rational emotive behavior therapy, REBT. But Bro-ism takes a sharp turn in its next tenet: the idea that real men should suppress emotions, equating emotion with weakness. That's a complete distortion of Stoic principles, which actually teach healthy emotional resilience, not denial. Too often, Bro-ism is marketed as a shortcut to power, money, or a better self. Instead of promoting self-mastery, it often sells a one-size-fits-all answer to any question about being an alpha. This new trend turns Stoicism into a kind of life hack toolkit, divorced from its original purpose, often presenting watered-down, AI-generated quotes and fake advice. And in the process, real Stoic teachings are getting buried under all the noise. A book promising to use Stoic techniques to win at poker. A Stoic dating app. Stoic medallions. It's all out there, feeding a movement that uses Stoicism to sell a version of success that the original Stoics would have dismissed. Bro-ism and the Barnum effect. Bro-ism succeeds in part because of the Barnum effect, a psychological phenomenon where vague statements feel personally meaningful to a wide range of people. It's the same effect that makes horoscopes and fortune tellers feel oddly accurate. This effect allows Bro-ism to speak to its followers' insecurities and aspirations without actually offering meaningful guidance. The growth of Bro-ism is partly why we created this video, to address the surge in Stoicism's popularity, which we've seen firsthand. One of our most popular videos on Stoicism has over 11 million views, with many comments from people who are curious about getting rich the Stoic way, or getting over a breakup with Stoicism. While those questions aren't inherently misguided, The explosion of interest suggests that many young men, lacking steady role models, are turning to online personalities who claim that Stoicism is the key to success, wealth, and power. The appeal of Bro-ism to modern men? Why are young men so drawn to Bro-ism? It taps into feelings of insecurity, particularly around masculinity. For many, traditional therapy feels off-limits or unappealing, but Stoicism, with its tough love ethos and rugged appeal, offers something different. As Jules Evans points out, the modern world has created fertile ground for Bro-ism by often emphasizing that our problems are external, the fault of the system or society at large. In contrast, Bro-ism offers a simpler, more enticing message. Stop blaming others, stop being a victim, and start manning up. Why are young men so drawn to Bro-ism? It taps into feelings of insecurity, particularly around masculinity. For many, traditional therapy feels off-limits or unappealing, but Stoicism, with its tough love ethos and rugged appeal, offers some. Jules Evans points out, the modern world has created fertile ground for Bro-ism by often emphasizing that our problems are external, the fault of the system or society at large. In contrast, Bro-ism offers a simpler, more enticing message, the branding of Stoicism. So why is Stoicism in particular such a powerful brand in the manosphere? The word itself has a certain rugged appeal. Stoic conjures images of strength and silent resilience, the qualities associated with the strong, silent type. But being Stoic and practicing Stoicism are vastly different. Stoicism with a capital S is a rich philosophy, while Stoic with a lowercase es has become shorthand for emotional suppression, a misunderstanding that can actually be harmful. Research shows that bottling up emotions is detrimental to mental health, while true Stoicism is about resilience, acceptance, and wise action. Yet Stoicism lends itself to memorable, marketable phrases like memento mori, remember you must die. It's easy to see why a phrase like that, often emblazoned on medallions or merch, resonates as a catchy reminder of mortality. But is this really why Stoicism, out of all ancient philosophies, has found a second life? Why Roman imagery resonates in the manosphere? The manosphere's fascination with Stoicism also taps into an obsession with Roman culture. There's been a recent meme about how often men think of the Roman Empire, and it might not be far off. Roman civilization was heavily militaristic, autocratic, and infused with images of power and conquest. For some in the manosphere, images of Roman centurions and emperors, standing stoically in the face of adversity, represent an ideal of manhood. This is why Marcus Aurelius's Meditations is so popular. The appeal of absorbing wisdom from a Roman emperor is just too compelling. But Marcus Aurelius himself, while a powerful leader, wasn't the muscle-bound, hyper-masculine figure he's sometimes portrayed as online. If he were around today, he probably wouldn't be flashing his six-pack on Instagram. The Stoicism that's marketed to the manosphere presents a caricature of this wisdom, one where Marcus looks like a modern-day bodybuilder rather than the reflective philosopher he was. In the end, social media algorithms have picked up on the fact that Bro-ism sells. Click on a few links about Stoic masculinity, and your feed will be flooded with recommendations for more of the same. It's not an accident. Platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok know that this content sells, and they're more than happy to keep feeding it to their users. What Bro-ism gets wrong. So where does Bro-ism go wrong? In attempting to simplify Stoicism, Bro-ism misses the true point of this ancient philosophy. Stoicism isn't about self-glorification, becoming wealthy, or chasing power. It's about mastering oneself, not controlling the world around you. Stoicism versus Bro-ism, a philosophy hijacked. Stoicism is often mistakenly labeled as a philosophy of old rich white men, but this couldn't be further from the truth. Marcus Aurelius may have been wealthy and powerful, But the founder of Stoicism, Zeno, wasn't even Greek. He was a Phoenician, an immigrant who brought his ideas to Greece, where Stoicism was initially viewed as a foreign philosophy. The notion that Stoicism is just about keeping a stiff upper lip is another misconception. According to philosopher Martha Nussbaum, no group spoke more about emotions than the ancient Stoics. But as with any philosophy that enters the mainstream, Stoicism has been simplified and even distorted. And in today's manosphere, a subculture of online communities fixated on extreme views of masculinity, Stoicism has been twisted into something unrecognizable. Today, some manosphere influencers claim to be the new authorities on Stoicism, although they've often read only one English translation of the original texts. They insist on what they believe Stoicism really is, often dismissing the insights of scholars who have dedicated years to studying the philosophy in depth. This shift has produced a new variant, Bro-ism, which cherry-picks Stoic ideas but ignores the real depth of Stoic teachings. Obstacle as opportunity. A true Stoic. Perspective versus Bro-ism. For real Stoics, ancient and modern, life's obstacles are simply challenges to be met, not signs that the world should bend to your will. Stoicism teaches us to accept things as they are and to train ourselves to handle what life throws at us. The philosophy is about building resilience, learning to be comfortable with discomfort. But in Bro-ism, obstacles are presented as opportunities for personal gain. In Ryan Holiday's book, The Obstacle is the Way, the idea of obstacles becomes a stepping stone for ambition, but to what end? In the world of Bro-ism, this concept is often interpreted as a means to achieve wealth, power, or fame, all things that the Stoics themselves considered indifference, things that don't actually contribute to a fulfilled life. The misogynistic turn. One of the darker aspects of Bro-ism is its embrace of hyper-masculinity, which often borders on outright misogyny. While some ancient Stoic texts may reflect the biases of their time, the philosophy itself does not condone sexism or misogyny. Yet Bro-ism often distorts Stoic teachings to justify a worldview that demeans women and reduces them to mere accessories in a man's quest for dominance. When questioned, proponents of Bro-ism argue that the Stoic idea of virtue stems from the Latin virtus, which they interpret as manliness. But this is a misunderstanding. Virtus was a Roman translation of the Greek aret, which simply means excellence and has nothing to do with gender. The goal of Stoicism versus the goal of Bro-ism. At its core, Stoicism is about achieving eudaimonia, a state of well-being and peace that comes from accepting both the highs and lows of life. It's not about constant external validation or climbing some imagined social ladder. But Bro-ism promotes an opposite goal, the endless pursuit of success and status to feel good about oneself. This emphasis on power and recognition undermines the true purpose of Stoicism and misleads those who could genuinely benefit from its teachings. Philosopher Donald Robertson suggests that, ironically, Bro-ism could act as a Trojan horse. Many are initially drawn to Stoicism because they think it will make them tougher or more manly. But if they delve deeper, they may find the actual principles of Stoicism, which could lead them to question the version they encountered first. If they're lucky, they may uncover a richer understanding of Stoicism that's more about personal growth than social posturing. A week with Bro-ism coaches, a team's experience after spending 7 days exploring Stoic practices. Some of our team members tried various Stoic resources, including online courses that promised to teach the philosophy's principles. One member had a call with a Stoic coach, but the session quickly turned bizarre. The so-called coach made questionable and even offensive comments, leaving the team member feeling disillusioned with the entire experience. Another team member noted that the content was overly simplistic, lacking any true depth or connection to Stoic philosophy. Instead of guiding them toward self-reflection or resilience, the course felt more like a crash course in surface-level self-help. Other team members explored Ryan Holiday's Taming Your Temper course, which was well-packaged but ultimately underwhelming. Although the course may have offered a few pearls of wisdom, it seemed better suited for school-age students than for adults looking for real growth. It didn't feel like the deep, transformative experience that Stoicism aims to provide, a different kind of legacy. The original Stoics envisioned their philosophy as a guide for living an ethical life. They believed that true virtue involved caring about others and acting on behalf of humanity. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, avoided personal fame and wealth from teaching, preferring instead a life of study and simplicity. When a Greek general invited him to court, Zeno turned down the offer, preferring a life of introspection over mingling with the powerful. He famously rejected the pursuit of personal glory, seeing it as a trap for the ego. If Zeno were alive today, what would he think of the way Stoicism is portrayed in the manosphere? He would likely be horrified. Stoicism is a philosophy of cosmopolitanism, a worldview that sees every human being as a citizen of the world, deserving of respect and compassion. Stoicism rejects division and prejudice, aiming instead to foster harmony and understanding among all people. Racism, sexism, and other forms of prejudice stand in direct opposition to Stoic principles, which emphasize unity and brotherhood. True Stoicism in practice. The goal of Stoicism has little to do with impressing others or acquiring wealth. It's about realizing one's potential as a rational, self-aware being. Stoicism was born from Zeno's experience of losing everything in a shipwreck. He didn't reclaim his lost wealth, but instead built a philosophy that taught him, and countless others, how to find peace and purpose, even in adversity. During his lifetime, Marcus Aurelius was one of the wealthiest men on earth, yet he believed that true wealth came from what you could give to others. In times of crisis, he offered his resources to support his fellow Romans, famously saying, "The only wealth which you will keep forever is the wealth that you have given away." Other figures, like Vietnam War hero Admiral James Stockdale, Senator John McCain, and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl, exemplified Stoicism in some of humanity's darkest hours. These individuals did not seek fame or fortune, but simply did the hard work of enduring and emerging stronger. A final thought from Zeno. In the end, Stoicism's core message is about listening more than speaking, learning more than teaching. As Zeno himself once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we speak." For anyone who feels drawn to Stoicism, remember that its true purpose is to help you become your best self, not to serve as a quick path to power or wealth.